My name is Adrian, and today we're going to look at this petrol-powered water pump. So this particular model is a JCB WP80T. I'll explain what that means when we get it out of the box. So I've laid the contents of the packaging out on the table so you can see exactly what you get with this unit. So first of all, we've got all the fixtures and fittings we're going to need to connect our hoses. So there's two inlet outlets assemblies here, and of course we have the strainer and pickup, which would go on the end of your pickup hose. So this being a T model, it means it's a trash pump. So it's capable of taking foreign bodies within the water that it pumps. So as you can see, there's large holes in the strainer here, which would go on your pickup. If it'll fit through these holes, it'll go through the pump happily. Obviously, this particular type of pump is designed to be more durable, being a trash pump, and to be able to take stones and gravel and that sort of thing. If you've got cleaner water, then there are normal standard type pumps. So one thing you will see within the packaging are these T handles here. They're basically bolts with a T on the top. And around the outside of the pump, there are several bolts. In fact, there are 6 of them around the outside. It's using standard bolts at the moment to hold the pump together. But should you have a situation where you get a lot of trash and your pump is getting clogged up, you can swap the hexagon bolts for these type of bolts, and it's a lot more convenient. You don't need a tool in the field to be able to open it up and clean out any debris that might have built up. So we'll go through the assembly of this unit first of all. Now it's important to note that when it's delivered to you, there's no engine oil in the engine. So really important that we do put the engine oil in. And we do supply this funnel to make that job a little easier. So moving forward, engine oil, petrol, we'll show you how to do all that, and then all the fittings. So oil filler plug is here. Unscrews anti-clockwise, and you'll see on this label here that it says you can take an SAE30 or 10W40 engine oil. So those are the grades you're looking for. Okay, I'll remove this. Now it is actually a dipstick, but there's a far better way to get the oil at an accurate level. So obviously, if you've got your bottle of oil, we can use the funnel here into the sump and pour oil nice and steady, nice and slowly down into the funnel. So what we're looking for is an oil level coming right up with the machine on a nice level area for the oil to come right up to the weir point of this hole. So that would be the point where if you were to put any more in, it would start to dribble back out again. And that would be the perfect level to try and keep it maintained at. But as I say, as long as we're at least halfway up the dipstick, but try and keep it at that weir point. So once we've filled it with engine oil, screw it in clockwise, being careful not to cross thread it, and just make sure that it's secure. You will notice, now let me just spin the unit round. Because this engine is fairly universal to other models, there's a dipstick on this side as well. We just make sure that's tight, but obviously the other side it's far easier to put the oil in. So whichever side you put it in, it's exactly the same sump, but this one's more difficult, so it's easier to use the one I showed you. So fuel next. I'll unscrew the filler cap. You can see it's retained on a little chain here so you don't lose it. Now, fresh unleaded petrol is needed for this. Never fill it up with fuel indoors. We need to be in a well-ventilated area. And obviously, if the machine has been running, let it go absolutely cold before filling with fuel. Should we splash it on a hot exhaust, we could have a fire. So just be very careful. Nice open area when you're doing it, outdoors if possible. Never run the unit indoors anyway, but let the engine go cold before refilling with fuel. When you do refill it, you'll see as you look down in the tank that there's a red level on the strainer inside. Never fill the tank right to the brim. Fill it until it just covers the strainer inside. So I'll just show you that little red strainer, as you can see, to the level of that red when it's on the flat. So the pump has an inlet and an outlet. So water would be sucked into the pump via a vacuum hose in here in the center, and then via what's typically a lay flat hose out through the top here. So I'll show you how the connectors go together so that we get the airtight seal. Obviously, if we've got any air leaks on the inlet, it'll be sucking air in instead of water. So we've got the eared ring here with a thread inside. Then we have the coupling that our vacuum hose will go onto. If I fit that in there, as you can see, now we've got this rubber O-ring. This is very important for the seal. If I fit the ring down into the coupling there, just loosely in place, There we are. It will stay retained. So that's the correct way to do it. So I'll just take my eared clamp and just show you how that goes together. So a few turns, hand tight, and a good firm grip on it will do for locking that up. Exactly the same for the outlet. So we do supply these clips. So when we take the vacuum hose, which is typically a green hose with a spiral rib in it that can't collapse under vacuum, we'd fit this ring, clip over the end of the hose, fit that hose on just short of this clamp ring, and then somewhere around these serrations here, tighten up the clip onto the hose, and that will ensure a vacuum tight joint. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is the strainer. If I screw the plastic fitting hard into the strainer, though, this part will be going under the surface of the water, and obviously quite large gaps here. Anything that goes through there will be fine in the pump. But make sure you always fit this to the end of your pickup hose. And again, when the pickup hose is on, to here, which just pushes over, fit the clip, secure it tightly. And of course, the added weight of this unit will help the hose to sink in the water. Just while we're in this area, you'll see this black plug on the bottom. We make sure this is tight. When you've finished using the pump, if you've removed your hoses and you're transporting it, you will want to drain the unit out, and you can use this for flushing the unit as well. So if, for instance, you were back at your yard or what have you, you could take a clean water supply, such as a water hose pipe, and you could put a hose pipe in here or in here and flush out any debris that comes out through this hole, and it'll flush out any contaminants and silt or whatever may have built it up in the pump, and it can easily come out through this drain. So this is a drain plug to remove the water. And obviously, if you're transporting it, you want it to be empty of water. It'll stay full to about this level, and it's not going to be sloshing around in the back of your van making a mess. So we'll refit the drain plug. Okay, so this plug on the top is the primer. So we would need perhaps a bucket of water, something like that, a good few litres of water, and we can use this primer just prior to starting the pump. So what we would do was pour water into the pump to the point, perhaps so that you could see it flowing through. But if you fill it up until you see it just below this top, and then immediately fit the plug back in, and then start the engine. And we'll go through the starting of the engine next. So there are 5 controls on the unit. First one, fairly obvious, on-off switch. Off, on. That's the first one. I'll spin it round. So control number 2 is the recoil. Then this lower one here, the fuel tap. The upper one here is the choke, okay? And then the final one here is the throttle. So I'll talk you through the procedure for starting the engine. So when it's time to turn off and you pumped all the water, drop the throttle back down to a minimum, switch the engine off on the switch, and then when transporting the unit or leaving it for any length of time, make sure you turn the fuel off. So this particular machine, as we described earlier, is the ATT, the 80mm outlet and a trash pump. But obviously there are other variations as well, but all the controls are exactly the same. So I do hope you found this demonstration useful. I've been Adrian, and thank you for watching.